Hello, welcome to Caribbean Headline News. I'm Judy Joseph, and with me, our special guest, is lawyer Anthony Stephen Benjamin of Benjamin Law Firm. So good to see you.
It's good to see you.
Your practice mostly look at personal injury, but that's a wide range of area because it covers body, mind, emotion. So tell us, break it down for us. What is personal injury?
Well, I guess if we look at the human body as a whole, both emotional, physical, and psychological, any event that sort of interrupts that or affects your functioning could really be considered injuries. So it could be psychological. For example, you may have a slip and fall, or you may have some accident, and that could result in a physical injury. However, the trauma from it and the event could also lead to, post-accident psychological issues like adjustment disorders or depression, or sometimes by simply repeating the accident in your mind, because naturally we are only humans, and when we are involved in any traumatic event, we constantly have, we always go back to the scene mentally.
Yes.
And that sometimes triggers some disorders. So, personal injury really encompasses, as you said, all three different facets.
Okay, let's say, for example, slippery sidewalks in the middle of winter, someone falls and there's a problem with the hips or the knees. Who is responsible for the slippery sidewalk? Who's responsible for salting that sidewalk to make it safe for pedestrians? Is it the city or the property owner who maybe owns that little area of the sidewalk? Who's responsible?
Well, the answer could be all of them.
That makes it complex, right?
Well, everything in law is complex, but quite often as lawyers, what we ultimately look at is, we have an injured client, and our job is basically to try and get the client the resources and by way of compensation to deal with a lot of the effects of the injuries, because it could result in loss of income and need for rehabilitative care and attendant care, and sometimes they may need a nurse or a PSW. So how do we fund that? To fund that, we have to find a way to ensure that the persons who are responsible, their insurance or themselves fund it. So therefore, if someone falls on a sidewalk, our first job is to find out who is responsible. And sometimes, depending on where it happens, it's both the city and the property owner. But in respect of the city, I would say that there's also a higher burden placed on any plaintiff or anybody suing the city to establish a higher degree of negligence. So, the answer is not always easy. It's always all of the above, but it all depends on the facts in each specific case.
So once again, if it's not the city and it's not the property owner, then what happens in a case? Because it's not the person's fault.
Well, quite often, unless somebody else is liable, then you can't bring a claim against anybody.
I see.
For instance, a lot of things happen and there's nobody could be responsible for it, and in which event there is nobody to sue.
Right.
But however, if you have your own insurance, let's say through work, they will pay for your rehabilitation.
Yes.
Some insurance at work would have, pay for physiotherapy and for certain, appliances if you need, like crutches, etc.
A wheelchair. Yes.
But of course, it's limited. And then sometimes if you're unable to work, if you have short-term or long-term disability policies, you may be able to stay home from work and get paid a percentage of your income, ranging from 60 to 70%.
Let's talk about car accidents, because I know that's...
Yes. Or in respect of motor vehicle accidents, the same thing that applies, right? You try to get recovery from the other party if they're wrong. And if they're not wrong, and sometimes it could be your own fault.
Yes.
You could spin off the road. Nobody else could be responsible.
Right.
But the way the regime is set up in Ontario, there is no fault insurance where you can get compensation from your own insurance for loss of income. And you could also get funding for accident benefits. That is, they will pay for your physiotherapy. And if you need help at home, they will also pay for attendant care. But one of the things that people should always remember about Ontario, the laws were changed significantly in October 1st 2010.
How so?
Well, prior to that, when you get in an accident, you automatically had $100,000 med rehab available. That is for physiotherapy and other care. And you also had available housekeeping expenses and attendant care. And if you had kids and you couldn't take care of them, you could have gotten caregiver benefits. So you could have retained someone to assist you with the caregiving and so on. But since October, that has been 2010, more than 2 years ago, that has literally been removed. The benefits have been substantially been reduced. However, when you're going to renew your policy, you could always ask to buy these additional benefits.
Benefits, yes.
And I don't know the cost of it. I guess it will depend on the risk and your premiums. But people should look carefully into it to buy and pay for these benefits. Because you may find when you have an accident, they may not be available.
You know, before someone calls you, let's say they're suing someone, what should they equip themselves with? What kind of information should they have? I guess the more they have, the better for you, right? As a lawyer,
yeah,
representing that
well,
potential
remember,
client?
My job really is a storyteller, and I have to tell the client's story. And therefore, in order to do that, I need some basic information.
Yes.
Most importantly, I always need facts surrounding the incident or the event.
Yes.
And information on all the insurance coverage available.
Yes.
So, for instance, somebody gets involved in an accident, I need to get the report.
Yes.
From the police, or if it's a self-reporting, a report from the collision center. And I need to get, you know, the information as, for instance, their income, how much they worked for.
Okay, so can they get these things on their own, or do you get those things for them, for the potential client?
Well, I think most times the client, I can get everything for the client, but it's always better if they collect a lot of the basic information
and then
first,
contact you, yes.
Then contact me, because it saves time.
Stephen, thank you so much. Back to the studio.